Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for bringing to our committee's attention several years ago the importance of tough legacy LIBOR, some $16 trillion of instruments where the creditor wouldn't know how much the debtor was supposed to pay. This committee, we passed legislation over a year before the LIBOR hit the fan. You issued regulations 7 months before the absolute deadline. I hope we do this in other areas, and it's my understanding that with those final regulations, we're done, and we've solved the LIBOR issue. Is that correct?
That's my understanding as well.
Good. People talk about inflation, and they somehow say that it's a matter of the personalities and politics in the United States. Others argue that the entire world is hit by inflation because Ukraine and COVID. I think we've got the answer to this question in that inflation is considerably higher in the Eurozone than it is in the United States today. And it's very hard to say that Joe Biden is responsible for inflation in Germany. I commend the ranking member for bringing up the debt limit and the harm that's already done to our economy. If we solve the problem tomorrow, we had less investment than we would have had yesterday. And I would say that I commend the president. He's going to issue a budget plan tomorrow, and perhaps in their time, one of our Republican colleagues can tell us when the Republican budget plan will be released. We are all eagerly awaiting it. Housing is a huge part of inflation, and we've left it to local government, but the permitting process there guarantees scarcity, which guarantees high housing costs. Mr. Chair, we've talked back in 2001 and several times even before that about wire fraud. And having just bought a home, I saw the process up front. Everybody's very nervous about one thing, and that is, will the buyer of the house be tricked into wiring their down payment to the wrong account? Or will the seller, the buyer be tricked into, or the escrow agent be tricked into sending the money to someone other than the seller of the property? We talked about this back in 2001, where I urged you with your FedNow system, which I'm glad is on track to move forward, to have what the Brits have. When you send the wire, you identify not only the number of the account you're sending it to, but also the name of the person or entity that's supposed to receive that. At that time, back in 2001, you said that payee matching is not the best way to do it. There are other ways to do it, and that you'd be happy to get back to me as to how you're going to make sure that an email from a Nigerian prince does not get the wired funds, particularly in a housing transaction, wired to an account number that turns out to be in Lagos. What progress do you have? When can home buyers have a system where they're sending it to a named payee as well as to a number?
So I hope we did come back in a timely way to you on that, but it's a problem you've brought to our attention. You're right, over many years, and we continue to focus on that.
Well, the bureaucrats who are working on this don't want to do what the Brits did. They've proven it can be done. You said you were going to accomplish the same goal in some other way, and it has been a while, and it's not solved, nor are you aware of any solution. I would hope that you would go back and say, we don't want to add this anxiety to every real estate transaction. We go back to the drawing boards, follow what the Brits have done, and have payee matching. Finally, as to crypto, cryptocurrency says what it means. Hidden money. That's what it means. And if we impose know your customer and anti-money laundering statutes to it, it won't be crypto anymore. What crypto wants is to have part of its ecosystem above the waterline, visible and subject to know your customer, and then have the rest of the iceberg below the water line.
Gentleman's
time has
time's
expired.
expired.